Hey there, welcome to The Horrible Show, the editorial video game podcast from HorribleNight.com. I'm your host, Justin Lacey. It is Tuesday, April 2nd, 2013, and got a little bit of a different show this evening, just a two-man format, and if you're trying to guess the cast, you probably would have guessed wrong. Josh is out sick, Ethan is on vacation, and they're both missing out on the return of one Cole Monroe. Congratulations, sir. Way to make it back on the show.
Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been almost 2 months, I think.
Was it good for you?
Longer. It was. I missed you guys.
It was crazy. Yeah, we were kind of on a roll, I think, right before you left. And then moving across the country for, what is that, the third time now for you?
Second, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Moved west, then back east, then back west. So yeah, 3 times.
But Vegas is already feeling like home?
Sort of.
All right.
Not really.
I don't know.
It's kind of surreal that I live in a place that I've, like I said in the pre-show, if you were listening, that I've seen on TV so many times.
Yeah, hopefully it's more, I don't know, Ocean's 11 excitement and not CSI.
So far, I guess it's more Ocean's 11.
Okay, good. Yeah.
There's been no dead bodies in my life. Although, quick story at our place of business, it's not in the best part of town, and my boss, he had moved out here like 3 or 4 months before I did, and he was like integral in building the studio. And he arrives at the studio one morning, and he sees this bum laying outside the building, and he's like, "Oh my god, this guy's dead."
Oh.
And so he walks up to him just to he's like got his phone out, he's gonna call like the cops or something, the ambulance or whatever, and he sees the guy breathe out. He's just like like that. So he's like, "Woo!" And he just went about his business and went back to work. So yeah, not the best part of town, but it's all right.
I mean, I don't know, like. It's Vegas.
Yeah, it is Vegas, and it's downtown Vegas. It's what you're gonna get.
But it sounds like overall it's been pretty much an awesome move.
Oh yeah, definitely. Our place is awesome. Can't wait for friends to come out here.
Yeah, that'll be a whole different Vegas trip now. So
yeah, yeah, it's been fun.
But as far as video games go, has anything as far as the game industry had your attention lately?
I mean, obviously we talked about BioShock a little bit. That's been huge. In terms of news-wise, not a whole lot. But I do want to talk about Mr. David Hayter not being in Metal Gear Solid 5.
Being a hater right now.
He is being a hater, and I think he's kind of justified in being a hater. Him playing that role as Snake is kind of iconic, so I kind of think that they might be pulling a huge swerve on everybody, but because I wouldn't put it past Kojima. True.
But didn't Kojima actually come out and say that they haven't contacted him? But yeah,
exactly.
I don't know what to think.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. Depending on, I guess, when the timeline of the game takes place, I don't even know if it's future Snake, old Snake, Big Boss, Liquid, who knows.
I can't keep it straight.
Yeah, I played all the games and I can't keep it straight. But they did try to swerve us pretty bad on the Phantom Pain, so it didn't work. So maybe they're going to be more clever with Hayter.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And then he confused me. So they said that, well, the first reveal I read associated with the trailer at GDC was Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, but it was also Ground Zeroes. Like, it was like both games they were teasing were actually just Metal Gear Solid 5. And then later, I guess Kojima said that Ground Zeroes is still something separate. So Metal Gear Solid is confusing enough without you doing this kind of stuff. And yeah, and like you're saying, if they're just teasing all the David Hayter stuff, who knows? Like, maybe David Hayter will come back as Raiden for all I know. But that trailer was badass, and then
yeah, definitely
seeing them get to actually embrace PlayStation 4 and next gen stuff, and yeah, I mean,
Fox Engine looks pretty good.
Fox Engine looks good, but I'd still say Frostbite 3 kind of stole the show at that point.
Absolutely.
Oh, man, like it. You'd think you'd be used to it from as many Call of Duty and Battlefield trailers that have stolen so many E3s and so many GDCs. But I don't know. There was just something about that Battlefield 4 trailer that, I don't really trust them to put together a single player campaign, but that engine is gonna give Unreal a run for its money, and I think EA will be in good shape technology wise. Now, we'll see how the software actually turns out, but.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I think maybe a couple of weeks ago you were talking about how there's that article on some website about how like jumping from generation to generation and the leaps and bounds like in polygonal count was, and how like maybe that's not necessarily going to be the case where we're going to be impressed by graphics as much. But holy shit, dude!
Yeah,
Frostbite looked amazing.
I think maybe that's it. Maybe like my expectations are low for this upcoming generation as far as it'll be a step forward, not a leap forward. But yeah, that had my jaw on the floor.
Yeah, but I think at the same time, you can do more with the better engines, in terms of like lighting and shading and all that stuff that might not necessarily come across in polygonal count, but just makes everything look more real. Yeah,
lighting. Yeah, that's a big factor.
Yeah.
Have you been able to pay attention to anything on Horrible Night? What have we been doing anything good?
Well, actually, I haven't paid attention at all until today.
Okay. Okay, Josh.
Yeah. Before the show, I needed to brush up on my Horrible Night. No, I have been keeping up with you guys and kind of missing being involved as much as I used to be. Just haven't had time to do so. But I did really appreciate Justin Gifford's article today.
It's a piece of work.
Oh man! Like the first thing I said, and I said we had an email chain back and forth about it. But the first thing I had said when I read it to myself was, "Holy shit! I can see this being on like a major news site, not just a video game site." And I think that's just a comment about his writing ability, but just the way he
researched it.
Yeah, like if you look at the amount of sources that dude has in his article, it's insane.
It's been it's been really fun working with him because he has such a different writing style than the rest of us, but you just kind of let him roll with it, and when he's passionate about something, he's been working on this article for a couple weeks now. We talked about it. This was, a piece related to the relationship between video games and all the violence that's been going on, and how the fact that there is no, you can't make a relationship between that, and he kind of hammers that home with some really interesting examples and pulls out some charts and states a lot of the research that's actually out there, and found a lot of stuff that I hadn't read before. Actually, the thing that stood out most to me was what he was showing the difference between like a causal relationship and a correlation, like the difference. And then using the example that people, if you look at like the increase of when people eat ice cream compared to the increase of the time of year when gun violence occurs or violence occurs, they both peak in the summer. And she's like, so with that information, a lot of people, you could technically draw that the increase of ice cream consumption causes violence, which isn't all that dissimilar from a lot of the relationships people try to draw between video games and violence. It was just really a really great example, and really different than anything that we've posted. I mean, even with some of his articles, it's much more opinionated than this. Was more research and fact driven. I was pretty proud that we got it out there.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I'm proud of to have on the site for sure, and I really hope it gets traction elsewhere.
Yeah,
because I think people need to read this, especially parents of video gamers who might think that, oh man, Johnny's gonna go murder somebody because he plays this shooting game. Yeah,
I think I have that on my iPhone.
You got shooting game on there. Plus, there is a picture of Master Chief and Jesus high five. So I don't know if any other article, you could beat that on any website.
I actually liked the Link image, like the cosplayer Link dead on the ground with the chicken on top of him.
Yeah, that's pretty good too.
Yeah. So it's got something for everybody. Plus charts.
Plus charts, and with a shark in it.
Yeah.
Shark charts. Link dead by chicken, and Master Chief and Jesus high-fiving with a little bit of Superman and Batman in there too. Like this article really has it all.
And more sources than I think we average for the rest of the week on the site.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
what about you, man? What's been going on?
I've been watching a couple interesting documentaries that I know you'd like. First, I finally watched Sound City, which was the Dave Grohl produced documentary on Sound City, the Sound City studio. Do you know anything about it?
I don't know anything about the Sound City studio, but I think I remember hearing about this documentary at South by Southwest.
Okay.
That he was taking it around and showing it, and people were really getting into it.
Yeah, I rented it on Amazon, and it's basically about this historical studio where Fleetwood Mac recorded their first album, or like their breakthrough album, and then a bunch of other acts in the 70s after that came there, and it's known for this recording station that is kind of one of a kind, one of like only 4, or it's like the console that you want to have. And the studio was just known for its sound quality and the acts that used it. And so he documents all the acts that run through it through the 70s, and then kind of its downfall in the 80s when digital recording kind of comes back. And then the resurgence of bands wanting a more analog, realistic sound when Nirvana Nevermind was recorded there, and then kickstarted it again in the 90s when Rage Against the Machine came back. So he's interviewing all the other acts that have gone through there.
Oh, sweet.
And then at the same time, he records an album with all of these other artists. So he like records songs with Paul McCartney, with Stevie Nicks, and then you can imagine there's 10 minutes of music perfection for me in this video, because there's a collaboration between Josh Homme of Queens of the Stone Age and then Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails.
Nice.
So I was like, just throw in James Hetfield, and this is it
this
for
is
me.
the best movie ever made.
Yeah. And then the album's really good. It's available, so I've been listening to that a lot.
Is he just drumming on it, or is he actually?
He's doing everything. Like, yeah, because Taylor from Foo Fighters is also on there, but I mean, the story was really interesting. Just more so for me, the kind of ebb and flow of music production and just the onset of digital, and that whole backstory was really cool. But I really liked they had certain amount of footage from the actual recording sessions with the other artists, and the different ways they would collaborate with Paul McCartney versus how they're collaborating with Stevie Nicks versus with Trent. Like, it was they're all so different, but it's just like that studio that studio was just all about almost just doing live recordings and the band trying to get it perfect and playing together live and just trying to get it right. And Tom Petty was also the other like big guy featured in it. So it's really
check it out.
Yeah, really cool if you like any music history there. And
is that a Prime movie, or do you have to rent it?
I had to rent it, so yeah.
Okay.
I want to say I saw it on Netflix though, so
really?
Check that out first, and because it's been out for a month or so, but it's definitely worth watching. And then I was on Netflix, and I remember when 30 for 30 on ESPN started coming out. I watched a handful of the episodes, and I think I took a break after the Reggie Miller one, but for whatever reason in my queue, the Magic Johnson announcement of him being HIV positive, that episode came up. Yeah. And reliving that was something I had never thought about, because, that's 91, where elementary school, middle school, but, we were both huge NBA fans, and not really understanding that announcement as a kid, and then also kind of looking back to see what he went through around that. I'd never really dug into that story or thought about it because, you still see Magic Johnson out there as, looking as strong as ever. And but just how different of a time that was for that announcement is that just really, it took me back. It surprised me.
Yeah, I haven't watched that episode. I really enjoy the 30 for 30s. You need to watch the Bo Jackson one if you haven't. That one is amazing. But yeah, the Magic Johnson thing. I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I didn't really understand what was going on. Like, I remember, I think being in Indiana, Ryan White was a huge name for us. That was his name, right? Ryan White. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was and he was like one of the first public figures with AIDS, and I think he had died just previous to Magic Johnson coming out with it. But I did read the Larry Bird Magic Johnson book a couple years ago, and that kind of put it into a different kind of perspective for me, because Larry Bird, who is just one of my all-time favorite players, he was talking about when Magic called him and told him, because they were super competitive the whole time, but they became friends later. And he said he broke down and cried, and that was like only one of like 2 or 3 times he's ever cried in his life.
They interviewed him briefly in the middle of this, and like he had this like reaction of when they found out they had to go play that night. He's like, I don't want to play this game tonight, and like that was the most misty I got, was actually hearing Larry kind of just being angry about it, just like So that one, I didn't know that episode existed, and that was pretty awesome. So
cool.
As far as video games go, there's been 2 really big events in the last 2 weeks. Last week was GDC. The week before was PAX East. And one of the cool things was, I don't know if it was through, I think it was Harmonix was doing it, but the Giant Bomb guys were there, and they streamed their Rock Band night the night before PAX, which is just a huge party and insane. But Harmonix actually had a panel that was essentially the farewell to Rock Band, because last Friday, I think that's right, this week was the last release of DLC for the game. They've been going 5 years strong, and anybody that knows me, I have played a lot of Rock Band. Rock Band was a huge part of, actually a huge part of my social life there for a while. I was running Rock Band nights locally, and just really into the game, and it's one of my favorite experiences. But apparently they had a panel at PAX East that I'll link people to, just kind of the review of it, of them talking through kind of the ups and downs and the behind-the-scenes stuff, as far as like Harmonix going independent from MTV, some of the other games they had in the queue, because they talked a lot about doing Pearl Jam Rock Band, but because Green Day Rock Band didn't sell all that well, they couldn't do it. And then the ins and outs of why Led Zeppelin Rock Band couldn't happen, and why some versions of some songs are on the game versus some aren't available, and just really interesting behind-the-scenes stuff. For, if you think about it, they've been putting out 3 or more tracks a week for 5 years, and I still want to know how the hell what happens to my Rock Band library in Next Gen, and if they ever bring these instruments back, or like, can I ever use this stuff again, or what's going to happen, because I don't even want to do the math on how much money I invested into this game.
I think, and if you're the reading type, Alex Navarro has a good long piece on Giant Bomb about his time at Harmonix, and kind of detailing some of the same stuff, but it's pretty interesting as well. But like you had said, I think after seeing the Harmonix panel, it's a little bittersweet. But yeah, I think like Rock Band might be the biggest standout of this generation. We've had a lot of great games, but nothing had the impact, I don't think, that Rock Band had on people who didn't play games.
Yeah, I mean, it's debatable with those first few years of the Wii. I mean, it's 2 different audiences, but I mean,
right.
the Rock Band had longer legs for me and my circle of non-gaming friends than the Wii did. The Wii was like 1 or 2. Oh, this is kind of neat. But Rock Band, I brought that to family events and friends events for 3.5 years, much to their chagrin towards the end. But
Right.
yeah, that'll probably be. I'll remember HD graphics and I will remember Rock Band, and when I look back as the first two things that kind of jump out about this generation. So it's been a hell of a run, and I'm really, really curious to see what Harmonix does going forward. They've got a lot of brilliant people there, but it's kind of they almost have to wait for that trend to come back, and I know Dance Central helped push them through there for a little bit, but that ship's also sailing. So, but I'm sure they'll come up with something. So.
And the last song that they're releasing is pretty fitting, American Pie.
Yeah. I thought you were going to mention the Chevelle songs that went along with it, but I think it was like 3 Chevelle songs and then American Pie.
Chevelle.
But I can finally play the Red. That's what I'm excited about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a lot of fun at those parties. People love my music selection. Not so much. And then on the site, Josh and I, on a live stream after one of our podcasts a few weeks ago, we got caught up with Star Wars Pinball, and then something we hadn't done for a while. We actually did a kind of a one-on-one challenge, and it's something that I want to do more of in the future. And then we cut basically a 10-minute video of us just playing one-on-one split screen Star Wars Pinball, and it's funny because we were playing to 10 million points and learning this board at the same time, and I was leading the entire time, like comfortable lead, but at the same time we're chit chatting and I'm not really paying attention to the score, and all of a sudden the game just ends, and we didn't know who won for at least 20 or 30 seconds, just kind of what happened, because it took me a while to realize I was using his controller and logged in as joshlee.com on his console, so it looked like the guest had won, and I assumed I was the guest. And then we actually had to. We eventually figured out that Josh had won, but we didn't know what had happened until we went back and checked the footage. So I put that replay footage of he had literally one move that got him 3 million points, and the game was over. It was like 10 million to 7 million, and it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, those are always my favorite videos to watch online, or like fighting game videos where it's competitive. And the pinball was definitely a highlight of the sites, I think. Just you guys talking shit back and forth, and then I watched the first 10-minute video, and then I went and found the full-length Star Wars pinball that you guys did. And Justin, did you learn that you have to use the upper flippers?
I suck at those.
I suck at them too. I was like, man, it's easier said than done. And Josh Lee was definitely telling you every single time you missed it.
Well, that's what he does too. He is
true.
a horrible coach. He is just he's not very uplifting, and
just like, come on, use the upper flippers.
I mean, I've played so much more pinball. I've played more pinball in the last year, digital and real life, than I have my entire life. And so I'm still adapting to. It took me forever to just not keep the ball alive. So I've moved on to trying to understand the table, do missions, and that kind of thing. So I have to do that first before I start paying attention to other flippers. Like I'm so used to just classic tables that only have the two, and it doesn't even hit me that there are other ones to use. So I'm not a good pinball player, but I have a lot of fun. I'm just and that's why I lost that game, because I'm just kind of a steady. I can keep the ball alive for a decent amount of time, but I'm not getting
going for the missions and stuff.
Yeah, because there's no other skill involved for me. So
yeah, but I definitely want to see more videos of that sort. That was very entertaining.
Yeah, I think Josh and we do enough, critical, analytical reviews of our first impressions of games, and then we do a lot of cooperative stuff otherwise. But as far as competitive stuff, I think Josh and I have a special relationship, so we may try to do more of those in the future as we keep up our streaming content. So I wanted to kind of take advantage of the fact that you and I have recently gone through the same experience video game-wise, because we just both built our first PC, and I don't know how long it's been for you, but it's been it's been 7 or 8 years for me.
I've never built one before.
You've never built a PC before.
Never built a PC.
that to me sounds like it would take a lot of motivation for you to not only upgrade a new PC, but actually build it. So what the hell was your trigger? What made that happen?
Well, I've been thinking about it for probably since the new year, and seeing that you guys are always playing co-op, because I always have to have a reason / excuse to get a console, and usually it's a game.
Mm-hmm.
But this time I was like, man, those guys are always talking about how much fun they're having streaming, playing co-op, and all this stuff, and so that was like a big push for me. And then the fact that I realized, like, I'm an adult. Like, I can spend my money how I want to spend my money.
Yeah!
And I want a goddamn PC.
Okay.
And so I knew from that point that I was like, well, I'm not going to do it until I move.
Okay.
Right? Because I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me. I won't be able to enjoy it as much, anything. And then, so I was still even hesitant as I finally moved out here. But I had prepared, because when the cable guy came, I was like, all right, I want the internet hookup in the second bedroom, because eventually I'm going to have a PC in there, and I want just hardwired in, all that stuff. So maybe, say I've only had it for 2 weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
2 weekends anyway. And so I had a nice long talk, and I even told my mom and dad, I was like, they're like, what are you going to do with your tax refund money? And I was like, and because I got a pretty substantial raise at work,
mm-hmm.
and they're asking me, like, oh, what are you going to do? And I was like, well, I think I'm going to build a PC as my gift to myself. And I still, like, that was just, oh, that's so far down the road, that's not even in the picture right now. And then I was talking to my wife the other day, and I kind of emailed you and let you know what we were talking about. And she was talking about getting some clothes, and I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna get a PC and get all the parts and build one. And she's like, oh yeah, and she's like, are you gonna even play it? And I'm like, had to lay out all these like reasons, like, I think I've talked about them in articles and stuff before. Is like, if she's home, I don't really feel comfortable bogarting the TV with consoles and stuff, because we were a one TV household, and so I felt like if she was home, she wanted to relax, then if she wanted the TV, then I would let her watch the TV. So that like really cut my gaming time down, especially since we've had this pretty much the same schedules now. And so I decided after talking to her that I was just going to go ahead and do it. And so then I like basically ordered parts the next day.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, actually, no, I did not order parts the next day. I had to wait on. I think I asked you for like a parts list, and I asked Josh for a parts list, and I had asked Josh like a month or two before.
Yeah.
And he never got back to me, so I kind of pushed.
What a jerk!
Yeah, no kidding.
No,
I was like, dude, I got money to spend.
No, he's instrumental in all of our moves up. But again, like before we get into that,
sure.
Like, to me, why didn't you just buy a PC out of the shop?
Because I wanted the experience of building it, and I wanted to feel good about getting in there. And I know it's like easier than it ever has been before in the past, and I was still a little intimidated, honestly, but I just wanted to have that experience. I didn't want to just go to a box store or Amazon or something and just buy something. I knew I could probably get it cheaper and get better equipment, but I don't know. I just wanted that feeling of building something more than anything else, I guess.
Huh? Yeah, because that was, I guess, my biggest hurdle was I honestly got out of PC gaming because I got tired of keeping my PC up to date.
Right.
And I had built, aside from my IT internship where I built 40 computers in a summer. I had built my own PC 3 different times, and each time it something else went wrong with it. Like whether it was bad RAM, bad hard drives, like I didn't connect the case right to the motherboard, like just irritating things that I remember when I got all the parts the last time I built the PC. Like I didn't even have excitement. I was just like, oh, now I have all these extra steps I have to do before I can actually get my computer running, and I will not even. And like once it started running, like I started noticing all the little things that were wrong, and it just sucked the life out of me. So, and then it's just so expensive to buy an out of the box PC that is gaming level quality.
Right.
So, and I just and honestly, I got really into living room gaming at that next point, and for the longest time there, the consoles were keeping right up with the PCs, or at least from what I could see. And so
that's where all our friends were too.
Yeah, that's the other big thing. So there was no need to upgrade, but so I had, in the meantime, I had bought an out of the box PC as more of like not a gaming machine. Like it wasn't the worst machine on the block, but it wasn't a gaming rig, and so I never was fully confident in it. And as this console generation kind of dragged on, and you start seeing how well the Steam platform has been doing, and how as I'm trying out more and more games on that, like that, I'm realizing the viability of PC as a gaming platform for me again. Then at the same time, my living situation changed, and I don't like taking over the living room for hours at a time with my console games. I'd rather be kind of off in my office if I want to focus on this and not dominate the house. We had the same perspective there. So
we're just being gentlemen as well.
So it began to make more sense to finally invest a little bit more in my PC, but it's still. I know we both set budgets, but the thing that helped me out actually break through was that I broke out my parts purchases over the course of a few months rather than buying everything in bulk. And so the funny part on the outside was I talked about upgrading my PC for so long, it didn't actually follow through until I started buying the parts recently, and then it took me a while to assemble all the parts. By the time I had started buying my parts I get them all, you had all of a sudden Cole's interested in getting a PC, and that surprised the hell out of me. So I'm like, I thought I was the new kid on the block with a PC, and then like 2 weeks later, there you are, ready to go. So
then I remember like last weekend I was on a stream of you guys playing Defiance, and I was like talking about PC build, and you're like, holy shit, I didn't even know you had built it already. I thought you were just talking about getting the parts.
I thought it was just a eventual conversation, maybe by the fall,
Yeah.
So that
it was like once I get that in my head, I gotta do it right away. And I was just gonna say, the only thing I'd ever done before building this was like install a rewritable CD drive, and install RAM into a computer. Back and that's the thing. Like I never really had a good gaming computer ever, and so when I was dead set on doing this, I wanted it to be a pretty awesome beast.
Yeah, I didn't know how over the top you went either. But kind of want to talk a little bit about our steps to actually assemble the parts, because I think that's the hardest. Well, that's the hardest part just to get going. So the two major resources I utilized, and this is just back from my college days, was first I started with the Something Awful forums. They have their software, hardware, crap forum that always has an up-to-date PC building parts thread, like a parts picker, basically, that answers all your questions as far as like what type of PC do you want to build? Do you want to build a budget PC? Do you want to build a middle-of-the-road PC? Or do you want to go over the top with everything? And they usually have a pretty good selection of just like information to get you started. And it used to be that I just use that and just go full bore from there. But Josh also introduced us to a website called PC Part Picker.
Part Picker, yeah.
Which is incredible. PCPartPicker.com. So if you have kind of the general idea of the major components that you need or want to look for, you can go to this site, start a profile, it's free, and you literally go through the processor, the motherboard, the video card, the hard drives, the case, and you just scan through these, and it'll bring up all the options from all these different sites comparing prices. So it'll find you the best price per part But also, the really integral piece is you build out your specs, and it'll tell you if there are conflicts. Like if there are, because one of the old issues I had was I built a PC and didn't have a power supply that could really support it because I didn't understand that stuff. So taking that, like the compatibility stuff off the board, I know that I can pick these parts from my information from Something Awful, and then my peers that I talk to, and I know that this machine is going to work. So that was the big thing for me, is that it took that off the table of I might build something that I may spend a bunch of money and it might not work right because these two parts don't really cooperate. So PC Part Picker was amazing to
Integral
use.
part, yeah, definitely.
So where did you... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, that's where I had asked Josh, and I think you sent me your link, your specs from there too. But yeah, I asked him to give me, because I've been out of the game for so long, I don't even know what's what.
Me neither.
And so I was like, Josh, just send me what you think would be the best for this type of budget. And he just basically built me one on PC Part Picker, and I went from there.
From my experience too, you've kind of got your almost your $700 or $800 range, which is like you can get a pretty decent computer for that, and like not like way better than buying the $500, $800 computers right out of the store. Like, those are pieces of shit. You can build a solid computer for $800, and then you kind of get that $1,100-$1,200 mark. I feel is the kind of the sweet spot as far as like getting a powerful machine, and then you can go off the charts if you want to do overclocking and all that, but that's still beyond me because the big conversation I had to have was I've been out of the game like you said, so do I go ATI, well AMD now, or do I go the NVIDIA card? And what sold me on the NVIDIA card, besides Josh and the forums telling me to get an NVIDIA card, was the GeForce Experience. Josh has talked a little bit about this, but it's a software that you can put on your computer that scans your computer for the major game releases and takes your PC specs and recommends the optimized settings, and it's constantly refreshing those updates and making sure that your drivers are up to date, because that's the other major factor for PC gaming for me that keeps me away and frustrates me really quickly is if I just load up a game and it doesn't work right away. I've been spoiled, but I only have so much time for games, and I don't want to waste my time fiddling with settings when it's like I just bought this new PC. I want this game to look as good as it can look. So here's kind of the one click this button option to make that happen. And AMD's not really offering anything like that right now, so that pointed me in that right direction.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was too. And I remember Ethan talking about on a podcast how he got a NVIDIA card for Christmas this year, and he had been like a stalwart on the ATI/AMD card for many years and was a firm believer that it was, he had a better experience with it. Mm-hmm. But when he kind of said that, and then I remember reading about the GeForce Experience and hearing you and Josh talk about it. That definitely went with the GeForce card, NVIDIA card. And I haven't really messed around with the GeForce Experience so much as just to download my drivers, but because I don't exactly understand how it works. Like does it scan for the games you have on your hard drive and then it'll optimize them?
It scans for the games on your hard drive and then make sure to see if it has a profile out there on its server for that game. And it's really good at having, I had BioShock settings ready to go day one, had Tomb Raider settings ready to go day one, and both of those games kind of had rough issues those first couple days. Not really rough, but like enough that people were talking about them, and they were pushing out beta drivers and trying to address, like if you had played BioShock at midnight when it was released versus like 6 hours later when they released some updated beta drivers, you got like a 60% performance increase. And so they just seem to be really on top of that stuff, and that really impressed me. And that makes it easier to be a PC gamer, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
But as far as we've got all the parts. Mm-hmm. This is your first time building a PC.
I was nervous as hell.
Tell me some of your stories or surprises or issues.
All right. So basically, like when Josh gave me the list, I kind of went and read reviews on all the stuff, just because that's what I like to do, and started thinking about what I wanted to upgrade from his list and whatnot. Ordered my parts, and then started watching YouTube videos on how to install the I bought an Intel chip, so how to install that properly, because that was the most nerve-wracking thing for me, was making sure that I didn't fuck that up by like putting it in wrong or bending a pin or all that stuff, like placing it on the motherboard actually. And you know what? It was way easier than I
that's
than I was scared about.
I will jump in and say that was the biggest change in since I last built a PC, because it used to be you had to line those pins up with holes and snap it in there, and then it really like use some leverage to lock it into place, like to the point where I'm scared I'm going to break my CPU, which is a very expensive and important piece, and like because it's so hard to do, you think you're doing it wrong. So that for me out of the gate was light years difference, and just it put me at ease. I was ready to go after that point.
Yeah. Well, and I was still like I was really nervous just doing it, and like the latch, like I can see how it's easy, but it was still like you had to put a decent amount of force on it to latch it on my motherboard, and I was just like, oh my god, oh my god, I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous. Now it's going to take me like 3 hours before I figure out if I messed it up or not.
That's the other thing, is like, did I mess it up? Well, we have to keep going forward in case, and then you don't like, and then if it's messed up, is that the reason why? Is there something else you did? So after the CPU, what's it out next?
So CPU's in. Then I put before even that. Like I said, I've never built a PC before. This is going to be kind of embarrassing.
No, we're both. Yeah, this isn't our realm.
So the I don't know what they're called. They're like the little pieces that screw into your case before you.
The mounts.
Then you screw in the mounts. Then you screw the motherboard. Then you place the motherboard on that. Then you screw the motherboard into those holes.
Yes.
Well, I didn't do that at first. I just screwed my motherboard in directly to the case, and then I was like freaking out because some of the screws weren't fitting properly. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And I went to tested.com because I knew they had some PC build videos. And then they're like, yeah, you got to put these things in before you put the screws in to the motherboard, and then it'll raise it up off the case a little bit. And so that took me like 45 minutes that I screwed up and trying to figure that out. And then once I figured that out, it went pretty smooth.
So was your motherboard flush against the case until you did that?
Yeah, like it was screwed in flush.
Because I'm panicking now because I didn't have to do that, but I had things that were raising it off the case, so I think those might have been built into my case. Hopefully.
They might have been built into. Yeah, they might have been built in to your case.
So if this podcast melts, that's why.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not alone. But then I put the RAM in and graphics card in pretty simply, and then I
want to go back to the RAM.
Okay.
RAM has changed in the last 5 or 7 years or whenever it is. So I'm used to people modding out their cases and just like, putting lighting and just making it look badass, right? I'm used to that years ago. Also used to the fact that the graphics cards these days they also go over the top with their aesthetics. Like they look like beasts. They have cases on them. They have giant fans. They have to look cool. They all look like sports cars. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or laser.
Yeah,
sports
they're also
cars with
way
lasers.
Bigger than they used to be.
Yeah. They take up multiple slots, and that's all. But I did not know that we're putting like badass cases on RAM now.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Now apparently these cases, like mine, just look like a ridiculous comb, but it just like was raised up, and it
trying to see what mine looks like. Yeah.
it was just huge, and I thought, oh, this is just some stupid cover I can take off. So I was trying to take it off, but it's it's actually like a heat sink for it and helps keep everything cool. So it does have some actual purpose. But I was talking with Coop on our site, and he bought some sort of RAM called Sniper whatever.
And it looks like a sniper rifle.
on the RAM, and I was like, oh, so yeah, so making sure your RAM looks pretty is apparently something that we want to pay attention to now. So that was that was the other big thing that stood out to me. I was like, this has changed, but the RAM's really easy to snap into place now. Like they make it really straightforward with how to do that. So
yeah, it doesn't feel like you're gonna break it anymore, like in the past where you're like trying to snap it into place and you're like, oh shit.
So you got everything snapped in.
Everything's snapped in. Then I put my power supply in, which I've never, like, that was pretty scary for me, is like just attaching it properly and then plugging everything in. Oh my God. So, like a typical male, I do not read instructions. And so, like, I'm looking, I'm like, okay, this looks like it's going to go for the graphics card, yeah, and it says, you know, whatever on the cord, it kind of has a label or whatever, and this, obviously the motherboard is the big, huge pins, and then the like USB stuff, all that stuff, and then I get down to the little itty bitty case pins. And I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with these?
I was thinking about that. Like, my hands are too big for it, and you've got your Brumac hands.
Yeah.
How? Yeah, because there are the pins for powering, like the lights on your case. Those are the biggest pains in the ass.
Power buttons, lights, fans. I'm trying to think what else. Like the front ports, like USB front on the front, and like headphones and stuff. And
that was stuff I screwed up on previous builds because my ports never worked right and my lights never worked right, and I didn't care enough to go back in and flip those around, and especially like figuring out the positive and negatives of the. I basically had two groups of them. I had one set that was all grouped together automatically that you could just set that in place. I was like, oh, they've made this easier too.
I wish I had that.
I was like, they made this easier too, but then there were like 8 other ones that I had to individually put in, and I mean, I know a lot of IT dudes, and a lot of those IT dudes are bigger than me and have bigger, meatier hands than me, and I just don't, I guess you got to get the tools for the job, but did you have to use some tools to make that happen?
So, not really, but first I want to go back a little bit. So, on my motherboard, there's a bunch of pins like right in a row, and I thought, hey, you could just put these on anywhere. So I just put them on, and I go to hit the power button, and I'm like, oh fuck, I screwed up my motherboard. My motherboard's shot. And then, so like after a while, I just gave up. I was like, all right, it was like late in the night. I was like, I'm tired, I'm sweating. I just need to give this a break and come back to it in the morning. Because I think it was a Friday night, and then Saturday I was off, so I was going to work on it then. So then I was like, all right, I'm putting these pins on, I'm putting these like connectors on all these pins. Nothing is working. What the hell is going on? Then I finally was like, all right, I need to find the instructions. And then I finally busted out the instructions, and I was like, for the motherboard, and then which is positive and which is negative.
Yep.
And where it actually goes on the motherboard, and once I got all that in there, which took me so holding it with my big meaty paws, with my iPhone with the light on in the other hand, so I could see it because the graphics card is so big, and it was like blocking it. I finally got it, and then I left my case open because before I had closed it and tried to power it on. I was like, "You're an idiot. Why would you do that? It's just an extra step." So then I took the case, I left the case open, and then hit the power, and it worked. Success. And then I went back and tried to cable management a little bit, which
I still need to do that.
Which is still pretty much a goddamn mess.
It didn't bother me, but then I started looking at other PC building videos, and like my case and some other cases are built so you can wire the things behind the board so they always stay out of the way, and I was like, oh shit, I'm used to it being a mess, so this is really clean compared to what I'm used to. The other stress that was kind of gone was you used to always have to line up the IDE cables. You used to always have like a strip that you always had to keep it on the same side as the power supply or whatever. And like I don't think that's a big deal anymore. So that was nice just to be able to plug stuff in.
What was funny is, so I get all my parts, and I go to Fry's one night and get a keyboard and a mouse because I had forgotten to order that. And then I'm sitting here and I'm like, even if I get this computer to come on, I forgot to buy a disk drive to install Windows. So I had to go back to Fry's and install a DVD drive, which luckily was like $15.
Yeah.
But then, they're like, the setup is so much easier than it used to be, like with just the little clips, and then the power was pretty self-explanatory. So that was cool. But
so I got everything plugged in and knew ahead of time to, yes, I'm gonna have to use the instructions for the motherboard to know how to plug these things in. So that was, but I only knew that from fucking up the last couple times. And then I get everything closed up, and I'm like, I think I'm ready to go. Like, double checking, am I missing anything? And then I start plugging everything in, and you have that moment, like, you hit power, and nothing happened.
Yeah, and you're just like, what the fuck?
I was like, this could be one of 100 things at this point. Like, there's no incremental way to make sure that you've done each step right. I'm like, oh my god. But I guess you can probably figure out the thing I forgot to do.
Turn on the power supply?
I forgot to plug in the power supply. No, you're right. No, you're right. I forgot to turn on the power supply. I had it all plugged in, but I hadn't flipped the switch to turn it on. Oh, man. And then
I know how you feel.
And then I went down the route of installing the operating system. And I was tweeting about this at the time, but this is my first solid-state drive on my main computer. I've had it on laptops, so I'm kind of getting used to there, but the fact that I have Windows 8 booting up in like 5 seconds is life-changing. It's incredible. So I have negative things to say about Windows 8, but my computer's awesome, so I don't really care.
Yeah, so here's my thing with the drive. So I bought a SSD drive for my operating system games I'm currently playing, and then I also bought what Josh Lee lovingly refers to as my porn drive.
Yeah,
which is just, I bought a terabyte or 2 terabyte.
2
drive.
terabytes at least.
Yeah, I think I bought 2 terabytes, and so I hook it all up, and I've been a Mac guy for so long that I had kind of forgot my way around Windows, and I texted him. I was like, dude, like, I know everything's in. It's showing up in my my system, but I can't access it. What the hell do I do? And he's like, dude, you gotta format it. And I was like, oh, I feel so stupid. Well, but I was like, that makes sense. I was like, well, so how do I get to that menu? He's like, right click on computer and then go to manage or something like that. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
I had the same moment with that hard drive, with my secondary hard drive. I was like, It's in there. It's not recognizing it. But then, yeah, I found all that stuff. I was also going to say, there's also that moment that I had forgotten of, okay, I'm starting my computer for the first time. It has nothing on it. What's actually going to load? And just understanding the whole BIOS thing. Yeah. So that was kind of funny that it took me. I also like my monitor. My monitor is one of those monitors that tries to detect which connection you have, and if it can't find it right away, it'll flip through the other ones. Like it'll go from analog to DVI to HDMI, and it'll keep cycling through until it finds it. But my computer was booting so fast that I could never get it to show me the screen so I could, go into the BIOS to make changes, and that was really, really frustrating. And
yeah, that's one thing I've noticed too, is like you have a split second to hit the button to get into BIOS, and if you don't, you just gotta restart it again.
Okay, so now your computer is up and running. How'd you break your computer in? What was the first thing you wanted to do? Like, gather all your software updates, gather your operating system, and get all your basics on there. But now you're using the computer for the things you wanted to use it for, which is video games. You install all your games. What's the first thing you played? How did you want to break it in?
Okay, so I bought
You bought
Deus Ex.
you bought some stuff.
Deus Ex. I bought some stuff. I bought Deus Ex probably about a month or two ago when it was $5 on Steam. Knowing eventually I'll probably play it on a PC that I build in the future. It's like $5. I can't pass it up. So then after I ordered my parts, basically that night I bought BioShock Infinite on Green Man Gaming.
So you pre-ordered that at that time.
Pre-ordered it, yeah. Pre-ordered it. Got like 4 other games with it. Got XCOM.
Yeah.
I got the Spec Ops, the Line bundle. I got the original BioShock. Maybe just 3 games, and then plus BioShock Infinite. So I was like, all right, I'm set. And then they email me, Green Man Gaming emails me a coupon saying, oh, you bought this BioShock Infinite, you get $15 off. I'm like, all right. So Dishonored was like $30. So I used it on that and got it for $15. so
it's pretty good haul for not very much money.
Right. And then Josh gave me a bunch of games too, like once I got set up. So that was nice, like Civ 5 and Worms. And
he probably has them all like ready as gifts.
Yeah.
Knowing him. So
I was like, I want to like BioShock Infinite is obviously something I'm going to be playing. I want to play Dishonored. Let's see how that goes. So Dishonored was the first game I downloaded. I've since bought Batman Arkham City. Like I bought it yesterday, I think. Yesterday or Sunday. Because it was like $5 as well, or $7 on the weekend. But yeah, so I'm playing Dishonored, and it's just chugging. Like it's struggling.
How frustrated were you?
Terrible. I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? I just built this pretty beefy computer, and now it's running like shit. And so I'm like texting Josh. I'm watching the stream with you guys. Like you're playing Defiance is when this is happening. I'm trying to chat with you guys. I'm just like, I don't understand what's going on. I have my computer. I quit the game, restart it, nothing. Check my settings. My settings are fine. And then I was like, I checked Task Manager, and my computer's at like 98%, or my CPU's at like 98%. Process, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I don't have anything running except for Steam, basically, because everything else is on my laptop. Like the stream was on my laptop, and so I'm like, Josh, what's going on? He's like, well, just check your processes, download this software because it kind of gives me an idea of temps and stuff. And I before I did that, I went to my BIOS, and it said my CPU was at like 100 degrees Celsius. So I freaked out. And I'm like online on my laptop saying like, what's too hot for a CPU? Like, what's gonna burn it up? What's gonna burn it up? And they were saying like, oh, less than 100 degrees Celsius is too hot. And I'm just like, oh shit, this is like the first day it's running. What did I do? What did you do? I restarted it and it was fine. Like I let it sit for a while to cool down, and restarted it, and it's fine. And it's only happened one other time since then. Which I don't know why it's doing that.
It's freaking me out.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. But I mean, I've played long stretches and it hasn't done it. I always keep that temperature thing open just to monitor it, but it's been fine except for like these 2 times. I wonder if I just have a rogue program and causing it to happen somehow. And I don't know what's going on, but that is.
Did you hit the virus switch on the motherboard when you were?
I must have.
Yeah. That's scary. I don't like that. Like,
that was my first day, and I was just like sweating and almost in tears. Not really. I'm like, help me, Josh Lee. You're my only hope.
You broke my baby.
I broke all this money I just spent. Oh shit! But yeah, it's pretty much run like a champ since that day. So
we'll come back to BioShock as far as how good that game looks. So one of my struggles was I'd never moved. Okay, take a step back. We've talked about this before, but I got abused by the Steam sales over the holidays, and
I'm looking forward to being abused by them.
The recent indie sale, because I decided I knew I was going to upgrade my PC at some point, so I started like pre-buying stuff, a lot of stuff, and have a lot of duplicate games now between my 360 and my PC. Like,
what do you
I mean, I was just playing
Borderlands?
I was just playing Borderlands 2. The biggest.
Are you playing that on your PC or?
I just started on PC, but I'm 20 hours into it on consoles. The big one, the last, and I knew this was gonna be my last big console purchase, was Tomb Raider. So, I jumped from playing that on console to PC, but half my motivation was, let's get really into this game and get used to these graphics and then see the difference. And so that was one of my first big tests. I think, I'm trying to think, what did I play first? I played PlanetSide 2. That was because PlanetSide 2 looked like shit on my old computer. So I wanted to see old computer to new computer change. So that was pretty incredible.
Is that pretty significant?
Yeah. And then I think the Defiance beta was pretty quick after I got the computer. No, it was basically, I finished building my computer on a Sunday, and we did the horrible game night with PlanetSide 2 that Tuesday. So I'd played some stuff here and there, but like I was playing retro games on the computer too. So so that was kind of funny. But Tomb Raider was the first one I tested because I also knew that it actually doesn't. NVIDIA had issues with it, so I wanted to try to. I was like, maybe my computer is so strong that it won't even have those issues. Well, it had those issues. So, but I also got to know what settings I needed to tweak, and that's kind of where I got to know the GeForce experience and got everything worked out. And so Tomb Raider was big that first week. I was also the really big game that I was excited to play that I held off on consoles. I played a little bit, but was Far Cry 3. And just seeing that, like I had avoided watching Josh and Ethan play it, so I had not seen it and its full resolution glory. And oh wow, I'm glad I waited for that. So I got pretty far in that game. But yeah, I mean the reason I upgraded when I did, the timing of it was so I would have it built in time for BioShock. And
that became my reason.
Yeah. I mean, the snobbery kicks in now at the end of this generation. I'm an excited PC owner. I am obviously very console agnostic, so I will, or platform agnostic, so I'll be jumping around as, Microsoft and Sony make their moves this fall. But for now, I'm going to be all PC for a while. And, that Far Cry 3 was the WoW experience, and then BioShock just blew me away. As far as just the intro to Infinite, it is having performance issues on ultra settings, but it sounds like everybody else that I've talked to that has upgraded their computer is having the same types of issues. But so I think it's just a beefy game, and some of those outdoor environments are pretty intense. But that game is gorgeous, and I think it deserves to be seen in its glory like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely have had some issues, especially. Well, I won't say that, but yeah, definitely when there's a lot of things going on at once, and it chugs a little bit, but it's still it recovers nicely, and it's like you said, it's just a gorgeous thing to look at. And before I forget, I wanted to say this is, part of my reason why I wanted to get on PC is because basically, like, the way that the Steam sales work, like, you can get really recent games for fairly cheap. And I feel like that type of sale never happens on the console.
Right.
So, like, you're basically, like, yeah, you spend a lot of money up front getting a PC, but over the time that you're owning it, like, you might end up spending way less money than you would on console and console games. So I don't know if that's a real life justification, but that's one I used on my wife. So
and you got to halfway believe it yourself when you do that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, it's been expensive for me making the transition because I like the overlapping games. But yeah. I mean, if I had my way, I would stick to one platform. If I could get every game on there, but I also know there are too many exclusives that I enjoy playing, so I will have the other items. But I'm hoping right now, but 3 years ago I was saying I wanted my Xbox profile to be my gamer profile. Like right now I'm hoping my Steam profile becomes that. So, but we'll see how it goes. But I mean, it's been really encouraging that The other big thing that pushed me in the direction was eventually I want to hook this computer up to my living room TV and use big screen mode and big picture mode, and the fact that a lot of games are getting controller support, so I can kick back with the game. That's been, actually, as a side story, my tough transition back into first-person shooters with mouse and keyboard. I'm lazy, and I like kicking back with the controller. Like, I've been playing Far Cry 3 and Borderlands 2 with my controller just because...
Yeah, I'm playing Bioshock with my controller.
Yeah, me too. But when I'm playing, like, Planetside and some of the other ones, like, I'm going to ease back into it, but it's been a tougher transition than I gave it credit for, because it's been 3 or 4 years since I...
Yeah, I haven't really played with the gaming, or with the mouse and the keyboard since I played Counter-Strike, but I didn't play as much as some other people. And that was really the last time, and that was like in 2001. And so playing PlanetSide has just been a huge, humbling experience for me with the mouse and the keyboard. I am so terrible. But it's still, I'm having a lot of fun, though.
Yeah. Do you have any regrets as far as any mistakes you made building it, or the fact that you decided to build it in 2013? Do you think you built it at the right time, or did you build it too late, too soon?
I was almost hesitant to build it this year because of the new consoles coming out. I didn't know how. You could never tell what I would build now would compare to what's coming out in the fall, and if the computer, the graphics card stuff will just stay stagnant until the end of the next console life cycle. But then again, like, the overriding figure for me of getting the PC is playing with, like, my friends.
Yeah.
And everybody has a PC. And, all the guys I want to play with anyway. And so that kind of overruled my hesitance of new console generation coming up. And like Ethan made a really good argument, I think, during the PlayStation podcast about, the consoles are going to try to catch up to what the PC is doing, not the other way around. So I think being on the PC is a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, that was the two things that were holding me back was the other cool feature about PC Part Picker was you can track the individual parts and their prices over the last few months, and the price of your overall build. And yeah, my build was a lot cheaper back in October, November when they were doing holiday-related sales. And so I was like, did I just miss the window and I should just catch it the next time around? And then combined with coming off that PlayStation 4 announcement of like, maybe I feel like the consoles are going to be kind of equivalent to what I've bought, like what I've built so far.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe I wait a year and get a PC that is more of a step ahead. But then I started thinking about that. I was like, but if I build the computer, the parts are going to be much more interchangeable, and I can make those upgrades, and it's still going to be a step ahead of the consoles of as far as that'll be important to me for the next few years.
Right.
Because I look at these machines, it needs to last 3 or 4 years before I make that upgrade. So, but it's always tough to know when the right time to pull that trigger is, and I feel like it's still safe to do it, but I wouldn't necessarily pull the trigger this fall it's kind of like now or wait another year.
Right.
And there's so many games at the end of this generation that I want to see the top notch, and I've also been enjoying playing. Like Batman Arkham Asylum, playing games that I played a ton of on the console and playing them at 60 frames a second and at higher resolutions, and I'm getting Second Life out of a lot of those games because of that.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I feel too. And again, going back to the prices, like I feel like the games that have come out on PC that are also on the consoles are way cheaper to get on the PC now than they are to buy on the PS3 or 360. So I feel pretty good about knocking some of those games that I might have knocking some of the games out that I might have wanted to get on the console, but just was kind of afraid of the price point. Whereas now I can get it in a bundle of 30 other games for $30. So.
yeah, there's I mean, also not having jumped into PC gaming for a while, there's a big backlog of stuff I haven't played that I can go grab, like you said, really cheap, and that'll keep me busy for quite a while. So
and all those indie games that I've never played.
Yeah, you're jumping platforms too, so that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, the funny thing is I started playing Terraria on my PC this weekend, even though it just came out on Xbox Live Arcade, but it kind of reminded me, oh yeah, I'm like dug into that. And
I feel really good about it. I feel really good about the purchase, and I think the time was right for both of us. And Coop, because he did it recently too.
Yeah. We got 3 PCs on.
But PC gaming is dead.
I mean, I was about 2.5 years ago, right when we started the site, 3.5 years ago, I was definitely all consoles. PC is a mess. DRM is killing it. Like, the only thing that can save it is Steam. And it might have saved it. So, but as far as any concerns about the console releases, what do you think your upgrade schedule for your PC is going to be like versus buying a console? What's your...
Well, I think it's definitely going to be happen more often than, obviously, this last console generation was 6-7 years. I don't see this PC lasting me that long, or me wanting to play games that are 3 or 4 or 5 years in the future on the same graphics card and stuff. So I think maybe that part of it's going to be a little more costly too. Is just a more regular upgrade cycle than a console. But like that, I kind of factor that in going into it. So it's not something that's going to catch me by surprise or anything like that. It's like definitely something I've thought about and I'm okay with, and no, that's just an aspect of owning a PC. And if you want to keep current with the games, then that's something you just have to do.
Yeah. I mean, I tried to leave myself room to grow, and hopefully there's no big technology hurdles that I'm not aware of. But I built my machine for gaming and for video editing, since we're doing so much more video on the site. So I'm pretty confident in it lasting 2 to 3 years, and then slap in a new graphics card, more RAM, and maybe even a different CPU. I feel like I'd be comfortable enough to make that swap. Now that they're easier to get in and out, because I never wanted to make that upgrade on previous. I was like, that CPU was locked in. If I have to upgrade, I'm getting a new CPU and motherboard, which means you're getting a new computer. So that was always my walls. Like, you can only upgrade so much, but if thankfully the CPUs are easier to swap out, so that does give it a little bit longer life there.
Yep.
Well, cool. Well, I'm glad. Oh, it's a fun time too.
It is. It's like, and it's got me like excited about video games again.
I kind of wanted to talk about that. We've got a little bit of time left, and this is just an offline conversation you and I had around your move. Your writing for the site is relative to your interest in games at the time, and you were kind of, before the move, kind of high up on your PS3 and playing a lot of games there. But during the move, like, it kind of took you away from games for a while. And so what, like, was it? What got you back into not only like, I want to upgrade a PC, but I'm ready to get back into games again?
I honestly think, like I talked about it a little bit earlier, is having a room away from like the main room of the television, because it was so hard for me to find time to do it, and when I wanted, and even if I wanted to, and she doesn't care. Like, if I would have asked to play, she'd say that's fine. I don't care. Yeah. But it's just more of a thing for me that I have in my head that
I'm with
you're
you.
right there with me. I'm sure. Yeah. So I mean, that kind of just slowed it down. And now that I have my own, like, basically my man cave, and I bought a TV as a monitor so I can play like PS3 and Xbox really easily in here. So I'm going to move those in here eventually. I got a bunch of old gaming consoles as well before I moved, which is kind of silly. But I feel like now that I have my own little area, the space, I can it kind of drove me to get back into wanting to play games. Like I had kind of pushed it aside because the opportunities weren't there for me.
So it's not even
by my own doing, but
right.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's an interesting, like, we kind of formed this site around adult gamers and the compromises they make as far as like balancing their passions for their hobby versus their real life, and your actual home environment, your game room is kind of very important to that, to make sure that it's comfortable to game in. And so it does sound like even if you hadn't upgraded the PC, that switch might have come if you start hooking up your consoles there. That I didn't expect that.
Yeah. So I definitely think, I mean, right now I'm just PC all the time, but I have Ni no Kuni to still go through, and I've been wanting to play that. So that's kind of big on the PS3 front. And then like I've got some games in the drawer that I haven't played on 360, like Arkham City, and haven't finished Mass Effect 3, and I'm kind of wanting to just get it on PC now. Yeah. So I'm kind of in the same boat that you are experiencing in, and I don't know. For some reason, it's just a lot harder for me to turn on the console than the computer.
Yeah, I mean, I think once I hook it up next to the TV in here, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But it's more of like, it's going to have to be an exclusive experience. Like, I'll play the Xbox Live Arcade games, but if I can have it on PC, I'm going to try to find a deal for it so I can play it on PC at this point. And that's just the nature of wanting the best version, and that depends.
Wanting the best version, and it's got the new car smell to it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just like, oh man, I want to.
Yeah, we'll have to check in after the honeymoon is over and see what the balance becomes. But I got excited.
Go ahead.
I just got excited that I knew your fire for video games was coming up at the same time as the PC purchase. So.
Well, and it's kind of funny. Like, my fire for video games has been different over the years. Where, like, yeah, I'm really into playing them, or, well, I'm not so much into playing them, but I really want to like watch videos and read about video games. And now, like, I don't have as much time to. Just my schedule is a lot different than it used to be, and I just don't have as much time to keep up with the industry because I would rather be playing games now. So it's kind of, I don't know, it waxes and wanes, and but like right now I'm all about playing games. I care less what's going on the internet.
Nice.
Which like my Twitter addiction, like once I moved out here and started working 10 to 12 hours a day, like I know it breaks you of your Twitter addiction, which has been awesome. I don't constantly check Twitter like I used to. And so it just kind of like, I don't need that stuff anymore now that I have that fire for games again. So it's been really nice.
Well, we'll get you hooked up streaming here pretty soon. We'll walk you through that.
Yeah, I need to figure out how the hell to do that.
Because that's actually changed my habits, and actually lit my fire to get the PC. I wanted better hardware to support recording more stuff and playing retro games and streaming that, and so that was a lot of my motivation. It's just funny. Like, honestly, it was I wanted to get back into retro games, so I needed to upgrade my computer. Like, right, that became an actual worthwhile conversation. So,
well, it's just like the guy who's like trying to pitch perfectly emulate the Super Nintendo. You have to have like a really beefy computer to be able to do it. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was looking at Dolphin on Sunday, installing that stuff and getting all my Wii stuff.
Maybe you'll finish Xenosaga.
Yeah, that and Last Story.
I think the Pandora's Tower comes out here pretty soon too.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that. It's a dungeon crawler.
Well, I will also say I think you'll be my partner in crime here, as far as concern for Horrible Night. I don't want us to become solely PC focused, so you and I will make an effort to remain platform agnostic and hold at bay the excitement of our PC brethren. So any readers concerned about our change in focus, no, we will still be paying attention to the other consoles and other platforms for sure. But they also
because when Super Metroid comes out for the Wii U Virtual Console, I'll be all about that for the first time.
We should probably we should make that your first playthrough stream. Get some backlog commandos going.
Yeah, absolutely.
So cool. Well, we'll definitely keep everybody up to date on our PC adventures. I think, depending on how the outcome of this conversation, I'm sure one of us may write about it here shortly on the site. Just kind of walking through our experience there and just other lessons learned and little anecdotes, because it's definitely, if you haven't built a PC before, it's definitely an interesting experience and makes you feel a lot more ownership over your computer for sure. I recommend everybody at least try it or like have somebody walk you through it. I will say that 4-year-olds are not interested in you showing them how to build it. So wait till they're a little bit older. So do with that knowledge what you will. We'll get out of here with HorribleNight.com updates. Really just trying to get back in the swing of things of video streaming and get a few of our writers more up to speed. You saw the return of Justin Gifford and welcoming Cole back to the podcast. Our schedules are a little still sorting out how to mix up our cast on the podcast, so we'll still stick with our Tuesday streams for the near future, but it'll probably remain focused on Ethan, Josh, and I. But we will rotate Cole in and have different show ideas to get the rest of our crew back podcasting, and then mixing up our live streams with everybody now that we're, like you said, we're all getting on PC and we're all going to be on the same platform and trying to do more horrible game nights with the community. So let us kind of get settled here in the next few weeks, and you'll see more announcements about upcoming gaming events and more live shows to actually get you. Our goal is in April to get you a schedule for our live streaming, so you know when and what to expect as we become a little bit more consistent and try out some new things. And as far as the games we're playing, we're hang out with us in chat. We post on Twitter and Facebook every time we're playing. Come talk to us, help us. We want to understand. We want to know what games you want to see played and what you enjoy seeing us play. And so keep that feedback coming, whether it's on Twitch during the live stream or we're posting highlight videos on YouTube constantly. And then our editorial content on Horrible Night continues. And so help support the site. It's gonna be a big year for gaming, and Horrible Night's gonna be sprinting right along with it. So we appreciate your support, everybody that's out checking out this live show right now. Thanks for hanging out. And Super Gaming Best Friends will be back next week. We'll return with Josh and Ethan and probably have a special guest. And then the Horrible Show will follow up again in 2 weeks. In the meantime, we will be streaming daily on Twitch TV/Horrible Night, and check out our editorials on HorribleNight.com. Cole, great hanging out with you.
Yeah, you too, man. It's good talking about PC builds and that I'm not the only one who freaked out.
Yeah, I have a feeling it could have been a different conversation if we had the other guys involved, but I'm kind of glad, we're more the amateurs here, so
exactly.
And we'll get you back on the show as soon as possible. Look forward to gaming with you, and for everybody else, we will catch you next time. We'll see you.
See you.